Alright guys, I am back with my review of TNA's Genesis 2013 pay-per-view. And this was kind of just an average show for me. Had some good matches here and there, but nothing really impressive, I thought. The triple threat match was alright. Daniels versus Storm was okay, but I don't know. Maybe it was the storylines like I mentioned in my predictions video, but nothing really wowed me on this show. And I'm not trying to hate on TNA here or anything like that, but honestly, you have to take into consideration that they're charging people $35, or someone said it was like $40. I'm not sure exactly how much this one cost, but that is a crazy amount of money. Even if it is $35, that's still way too much for this show. This was like a damn good Impact, but a pay-per-view. I don't know, when you have Doc versus Sting and Devon versus Joseph Park on the show, a tag match that absolutely no one could possibly care about, with Matt Morgan and Joey Ryan versus Chavo and Hernandez. What else was on here? The X Division match was okay. Crowd didn't really care too much once RVD came out. I don't know, it just felt average to me. So anyways, it starts off with this opening video, and it shows Bobby Roode in his car, and Hardy says he's willing to hurt himself to retain the title. I don't know why. That was just really funny to me. Matt Morgan and Joey Ryan versus Chavo and Hernandez for the tag titles. Morgan was really a dick to Joey Ryan in this match, but Chavo and Hernandez dropkick Morgan. He falls over Ryan. Hernandez powerbombs Joey Ryan. Chavo hits the frog splash for the win. Afterwards, Matt Morgan comes back in the ring and he's staring at Joey Ryan like he cost him the match, and obviously they're going to split these two up. I guess TNA realized, hey, we have way too many tag teams. We got to break these two up. So yeah, they're going to tear them apart. And Anderson goes to, or we find out Anderson's going to face Samoa Joe, and he tells Boresh that everyone's trying to tell him who he can and can't hang out with. He says that what happened to Kurt Angle is going to happen to Joe. So it's Anderson versus Joe. Anderson works the knee. Joe mounts a comeback. Mike Knox comes out, distracts Joe, and Anderson hits the mic check for the win. Kenny King says that he's a freight train, and only Superman can stop a freight train, and Superman's not Jamaican, referring to Christian York. And he says RVD's gonna lose the title to him. He's gone soft. It's not the same RVD. This was a pretty good promo. And we get Christian York versus Kenny King. The crowd sounded like they were behind Kenny King here. And Kenny King loses the match to Christian York. He actually dominates him for most of the match, but he loses to Christian York. York wins with a roll-up. And I was surprised by this. You'd think the guy who just cut the promo would go over, but Kenny King lost. And RVD comes out. Or actually, before RVD comes out, Kenny King lays out Christian York. And then he tells RVD to come on down. Like, come on, just beat the guy. I laid him out for you. And then he leaves, and RVD comes out. You would think RVD would try to attack the guy who just talks shit about him, but RVD just walks to the ring, does his entrance, doesn't even give a shit. I mean, doesn't do anything differently, doesn't even look at York until it's time for the match to start. And then he starts asking if he's okay. But it was just so funny. He walks down to the ring really slow as Pyro's going off, and he's, you know, messing around with the crowd and everything, and I don't know, it just didn't make any sense that this babyface is just walking out, and then he looks at York and he's like, hey, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. But Christian York has a match with him. I mean, he tries to fight him, he refuses to give up, so he does put on a match, kind of. The crowd didn't really seem to be into this. This was clearly TNA trying to make Christian York look like that babyface that just won't give up, and it looked like people didn't really care about this. They were ready for Kenny King to go over and face RVD. Christian York felt like it was kind of a bad surprise that the fans didn't really want. They wanted Kenny King even though he's the heel. So RVD wins with the frog splash. So I guess now it's going to be Kenny King versus Christian York. You know, they probably want to give RVD some more time off. What a waste of money this guy is. So Joseph Park says that he's nervous, but he's ready. And he's trained to take out the aces and eights. I am a complete moron here. That cannot be what I wrote. The aces and eights. I hope I spelled after, but it looks like I wrote the aces and eights. Eights spelled A-T-E-S. Oh man, that just shows you how much I was paying attention to this show. But aces and eights. Anyways, what was I talking about here? So Joseph Park says that he's trained to take out the aces and eights, and he says they kidnapped him with no food or water. They had him for weeks. If they didn't give him water, he'd be dead. And there was that one little segment where they fed him the Chinese food or something, and he scarfs it down really fast. Oh man. Joseph Park versus Devon. Devon exposes a turnbuckle. Park hits his head. He starts bleeding. He hits the black hole slam. He goes for the choke slam, but then he snaps out of the rage. And Devon rolls him up for the win and beats him up after. Really didn't care. Austin Aries promo on how he's the greatest and he'll walk out champion. The usual stuff here. The women's gauntlet match, starting with Gail versus Tessmacher. Gail wins with defeat. Then it's ODB. Gail eliminates her by holding the tights. Gail versus Mickie James. She holds the tights again. And then it's Velvet Sky. And Gail tries to hold the ropes, but Taryn Terrell gets in her face. Gail gets hit with the face buster. Velvet wins. And we find out Gail Kim's foot was under the rope, and I don't know. It's supposed to be one of those. It reminds me of when Anderson was wrestling. I think it was Jeff Hardy, and they both kept pinning each other's shoulders to the mat. And this went on for like 3 matches. So I don't know. I'm not saying it was like that, but that's what it reminded me of. So Gail's foot was under the rope, and she beat all the other women. So they're probably going to do something with this and Velvet. Plus, it doesn't make sense if Gail went over and then faced Tara, who's also a heel. Christopher Daniels and Francois Kazarian are making fun of James Storm, and Daniels says that Hogan has made this match where the winner gets a world title shot. So it's Storm versus Daniels with Kazarian, the only match I actually cared about on this show. And Kazarian has a manager's license, so he can be at ringside. And Taz almost started talking shit here. Almost. There was a part where Ken Ali was saying something about how this is the first time James Storm has ever faced Christopher Daniels on pay-per-view, and it's amazing. And Taz is like, is it amazing? And I was like, Taz, don't you start talking shit now. And he toned it down though. He brought it back down, but I was a little concerned. I was like, oh my god. But yeah, he was like, well, it's impressive, but it's awesome, but I don't know if I'd say it's amazing. And I was like, oh god, but he did tone it down. And for Balzer 77, you fat bitch. But yeah, Daniels ducks the super kick. He hits Angel's wings, but Storm kicks out. Kazarian goes on the apron. Storm super kicks him, and he turns around, gets hit with the STO. Daniels puts the feet on the ropes, gets the win. So Daniels gets a title shot here. This is great. The suspended Bully Ray comes out with Brooke Hogan to cut a promo. He talks about the wedding and how all the fans are invited. That was it, thank God. Doc versus Sting. Sting wins with the Scorpion Death Drop. Did not care about this at all. Barely paid attention to it, I'm going to be honest. The Aces surround the ring. Sting doesn't even try to run from these guys. And then Bully Ray runs out and chases them away. They all run from one guy. Rude says that Hardy doesn't deserve to be champion. It should be someone like him or someone like Aries. And he says that they're going to get rid of Hardy and then the spotlight's going to be on them. So it's Hardy versus Rude versus Aries for the title. They double team Hardy. Aries gets on Rude's shoulders to hit Hardy with a super backdrop. And Hardy hits Whisper in the Wind on him. Rude tells Aries to go up for that thing, referring to the 450. And Aries goes up top, and then I think it's supposed to be Rude moved Hardy out of the way. So Aries misses, and then Rude tries to eliminate Aries. They start fighting each other, and Aries rolls Rude up, and then Hardy runs in and puts his legs over his legs, that movie does, and helps Aries eliminate Rude. And then he pins Aries after a swanton for the win. that was it. Hardy retains. I'm not really too surprised about any of these. I think I did predict the Daniels Storm match right. The title match. What else do they have on here? I already forgot who won the Knockouts match, and I just read it. Gail Kim lost to Velvet Sky. So, whatever. This show was very forgettable to me, obviously, and I don't know. I hope TNA really starts to build up Lockdown, and they have all this time to do it, but at the same time, that's a lot of time to screw shit up, and TNA is known for that. So, I don't know. I'm really hoping for the best here. Last year's Lockdown was terrible. I didn't care for that show at all. So, I'm really hoping they improve things by then. And this is their first year with only 4 pay-per-views. And I'm glad. I'm glad there's not going to be another one until Lockdown. Because they really need to fine-tune some things. And like I said in my predictions video, this whole first Friday of every month, these $15 shows on a Friday night, no one's going to buy these. And they're taping the shows in January, and they're going to air for 4 months. I don't know, just not a bad... I mean, it's just a bad idea for TNA all around. So anyways, that's my review of TNA Genesis 2013. Hope you guys liked the video. Leave your thoughts on the show in the comments, and thanks for watching.